Okay, probably just wait another second or two before we get started here. I should do the thing Wacom does where it's like an opening screen or whatever, and then like let people come in before I do anything. Probably be better. Who knows? Hey, what's going on, guys? Hola. I was just saying, I should probably do that thing Wacom does where he like starts the video with, starts his live streams with like an opening screen or whatever, and then like he doesn't join until later. It'd probably end up working better, but whatever. Check this out. Do this up real quick. It's basically a rework of my logo, or I guess it's not a logo. Rework of my name there. It's trying to get rid of that kid a little bit right here, but it's kind of hard to look past, I guess, even with this. Maybe if I put some lines in between here to denote them as zeros a little bit better. I don't know. How many times are you gonna change your logo? No idea. I like the one I have currently. That one's probably the Pixel one. I'm probably gonna stick with for a while. Hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, it's kind of hard to unsee once you see it. It's kind of sticking out there in the middle. Trying to find a way to break it up, but this is definitely better than it was for sure. Discord name? What do you mean? Anyway. So, what are we doing? Well, I have started prepping some of these guys. And even though these are popsicle sticks, it's a lot smoother than it looks. You'll just have to trust me on that. I basically took hot glue and put it on there, and then put it on a flat surface, a flat metal surface, and then pulled it up, and then cut off the excess. So even though it looks like popsicle sticks glued together, because they are, it's actually smooth. So when it comes out in the mold, it'll be smooth. You'll still get the wood finish on this side, but I mean, it's just a pour spout, so who cares? It's in a location that gives me good access to pouring, and it also doesn't really matter if you clean this up too much. Like, I can just snip it off right here, and then if I really want to get fancy with it, I can Dremel it down to a radius right here. But it really doesn't matter because it's inside the blaster. So I also extended this piece out a little bit, and that's number one, to get better flow, but also help brace it a little bit more, put a little bit more meat on the bones than just this little tiny skinny thing. Also have this 3D printed ring that I have on here. Took 2 iterations of this guy for me to get it correctly, but it fit absolutely perfectly in there. It like literally, like, this isn't warped or stressed at all. It's literally just placed in there, and it was just enough where it was super easy to slide in and out, but if you just like push it with any force, it would go in. So it was a very nice fit. And basically this just extends this guy so that when you have this back half, that'll go together like that. And the whole purpose of this is to save on silicone, save on resin, although not much, because who cares? This much resin is nothing. Even that would basically double my volume But even so, this amount of resin is nothing, especially considering you have to mix up a certain amount. So, yeah, this is basically nothing in resin, but the silicone is what matters. So that makes this from this long, which is like 8 or 9 inches tall, to this guy, which is like 5. And when you're talking about a box that's like this big, you stack that up, that starts getting pretty costly pretty quickly. So I'll have this. This will be casted up in whatever I want. And then you'll have the standard thing like this before it's cut. I actually don't have another one because these are the only two I have on me. My other ones are all at my parents' place. I have like freaking 7 of these things, but basically you'll have the full tube, and you'll have a barrel cutting guide. And I don't plan on selling these, but if someone else in my local wars wanted to do this or whatever, this makes this nice and easy, nice and consistent. Basically, you slip this over this guy. That is a nice friction fit, but it is still easy to do, easy to push on. Push that on, and then what I would recommend is taking a scribe or something sharp, or even the back end of a X-Acto knife, and just scribing that, and that will give you a nice sharp line that you can work from, where you know that's the line you want to go to. But then you can also take a Sharpie and Sharpie it out, just so you have a little bit more visibility from a distance. And then you'll take this guy off because you don't want to damage it. And then you'll basically take a Dremel and cut this side, because this side is going to be waste completely. So you'll just cut along here on this side of the Sharpie mark, and then that'll come off. And then you'll basically just take a flat piece of sandpaper and put it on a flat surface and sand it flat until you get to this. You put the guide back on, and you can even take Sharpie and put it around here. That way when you hit the plastic, you'll be able to see it. And then if one side starts getting hit, then you can just put more pressure on this side until everything is nice and even and flat. And then you'll have the resin piece, and then you can just glue that in place. And so you'll get the all the visuals of the resin, but you're not compromising anything. So that's a basic idea. This is trash. This is the one I cut from this guy to make this. So obviously I'd cut on this side, so this is garbage because there's quite a big gap there. That's not really good, so waste. Anyway, so that's the orientation of this guy. Hopefully this tube in here won't be too much of an issue for the silicone. Basically just have to cut the silicone in a cone shape so that it's easier to pull out this way. It'll still be cut down the sides, and it'll fan open, but then I'll have that middle part that I can pull it from. Hopefully that goes relatively okay. The smaller side is on the top, so I'll be pulling from this guy like this. So that shouldn't interfere with pulling. I'm not pulling it this way. I messed up. It's pulling it that way. So the hammer release is going to be interesting because I'm almost positive this thing is going to break, because it's meant to be like a spring. Almost positive that's going to snap immediately. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. If it does snap, I have contingencies. Basically, I'll just take a flat piece of plastic sheeting, like styrene or ABS or something, and either glue it or secure it to this flat right here, and then just extend it out, and that will act as the spring. So I'm not out of luck if it breaks. I'm almost positive it's going to snap, but it's not the end of the world. So this, it's kind of hard to tell, but I've put some hot glue in here, and I've just used hot glue because I'm lazy. But all these things have been covered up. Inside of here is all covered up. This has actually been thickened quite a bit. Boy, that lighting is harsh. This has actually been thickened quite a bit. There's some lumps in there, but this part right here is smooth, and that's really all that matters. And then this has also been filled up with hot glue to make this just a hair thicker. Get all the thickness that I can. And then it's all been cut around and out so that it, oh, and then these posts have been shortened. And all the clearance is fixed up so that it still snaps together. There was also a little nub right here for God only knows what reason, and I cut that off because I really don't see a reason. Anyone else hear that squeaking sound? Someone hear squeaking? That might be, I have a fan going on right next to me. It's not pointing at me, but is that the real Hawkeye? Hey, what's going on, guys? These are going to be a little bit more complicated to mold because there's a lot more dimensions to them. But I'm pretty sure if I have it coming up like this, that's going to be my general no, I decided upside down. I think right here. And then have it so it's sitting like this. At a slight angle. And then I think the same for this guy. I think. Honestly, can't remember. Yeah, I think that's how I wanted to do it. Coming off the same part. So basically you're going to be looking like that. If you're looking at it from upside down. So these ones are going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of venting in these. I don't need these molds to last forever. So I'm not super concerned about the aging. The way you can cut these things, you can actually, I already have the trigger mold done. The way you can cut these things, or the way you cut these things by venting them, really can determine the life of your mold. Like this line right here, that will age the mold quite a bit faster, but this one right here I kind of screwed up on, and there's like a little flap right here, and you might not think too much about that, but I really should have gone up this way first and then this way so that it was perpendicular to this right here, because this little flap right here is going to age the mold quite a bit. Now it's not in a critical spot. You can see the trigger laying in there like that. That's where your finger goes right here. So this is inside the blaster. It's not that critical, but it is still going to age the mold quite a bit. But I don't plan on using this mold very much, so it should last me for what I'm doing. I'm also using a different silicone that I'm used to, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue. This one turned out fine. This one's a little bit, the elasticity isn't nearly as much as I'm used to working with, because it's not that type of silicone, but when I ordered more silicone, I got this because if I want to mix what I already have, the little I already have, with what I got, then it obviously needs to be the same. It's also worth noting that this resin is like 3 or 4 years old, and it's still cast up for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. It had no business casting up, but it worked, so, and it's just the shell, so I don't care. Also got more glowworm, which is the powder that I'm using. Stuff's kind of expensive. I have a little bit left over from before, but not much, so I got a full thing of it. I'm glad I'm using blue though, because green is twice the price of blue for whatever reason. It is brighter, but the green is brighter. But anyway, so I don't really know what I'm doing today. I just kind of felt like live streaming. Have a day off. Fiance's working, so. How's everybody doing? So, yeah, I think, oh, also, I'm running out of foam core. This is all I have left. and that is not a lot. So I'm just going to use these for the walls because I really don't feel like going out and buying a full nether sheet. I think I can get away with molding just these, I think. But I'm going to have to use something else for the base plate. So I've just got a piece of ABS. I haven't cut this one up yet. This is my medium thickness. I think it's like a 1/8 of an inch or something. It has a nice, smooth, shiny, flat surface. Hey, you can actually see me. Hello. So I'm just going to start on this. I'm not going to cut it up or anything. I'll put one mold here, and then one mold in this corner, and then one mold in that corner. And then I'll do the walls up. And then when I demold it, I'll just pull this base plate off. And all of the hot glue will come off pretty easily with isopropyl alcohol, so I'm not too terribly worried. If Hawkeye is in a chair, I think that's it. This? I mean, I'm having to do that pretty hard. I don't know what it is. If it's constant, it's probably the fan, but I have no idea. So yeah, I guess I should probably plug in the hot glue gun here. So I'm using something. This is stuff that I would never post online before when I was doing this for a living, but since I'm not doing this for a living, I don't care. This is Task 9. I've never used this in a blaster before. Usually I use the 300 series, the 3 teen series, like 3... No, God, what do I use? 320... No, 320 series. 321, I think. Something like that. Don't quote me on that. But this is supposedly... The Task series is supposedly a higher performing resin. Supposedly. And this is the color match one. So it's going to come out a clear that's slightly yellow. Really depends on the batch, because this is not meant to be just clear. It's supposed to take a color with it. But that prevents you from, like, if you use a white resin and you use a couple drops of black, when it turns white, it will turn gray. But with this, you use just a few drops of black and it's going to stay black because it's clear. But the reason why I'm using the clear one is obviously for the glowworm. It comes out a lot better than using the white, because basically the white you'll only get the surface level, but this will go like all the way through, and you can get some good light in there. But anyway, so this is it's a little bit thicker. This is 300 centipoise. I think the 320 series is like 120 centipoise, somewhere around there. That's basically just the thickness. But it's still pretty thin. B is always a little bit thicker, but when it's mixed together, that's what it's talking about. Anyway. So, kind of waiting for the hot glue to warm up. I really should have plugged that in before. Usually I plug that in before the stream and wait for it to heat up, but I totally forgot that I need the hot glue at all. So, trying to think of other things to talk about. Honestly, I'm just kind of hanging out right now. I know the walls need to be like 6 inches tall or something like that, because I think this guy is going to be 5 inches of silicone. So that's 5 inches right there. Somewhere around there. I could probably get away with 4.5, but I'm already cutting corners on this guy more than I want. Cutting corners is a pretty... that sounds like I'm doing something bad, but I'm barely cutting corners here. I'm going with 2.5, which is right where my finger is, right here. And that's already a pretty thin wall. Now keep in mind, this is flared out right here. So reality, it's going to be more like this. About a 1/2 inch on either side. That's still a little bit thinner than I would like, but I'm trusting this new silicone that I'm using. I say new, but I've had it forever. I've just never casted with it. This is the same stuff I made the bumper off of that I never ended up putting in Pocket Javelin. But this stuff is a little bit stiffer. It's just a little bit stiffer, so I think I can get away with some thinner walls without sacrificing too much. Since this is tall, I would usually want to go with something a little bit thicker, like 3 inches. But that's going to be a lot of resin, or a lot of silicone, so I think I'm just going to stick with 2.5. And then this way is kind of large because I'm tilting it, but it's going to come out much better if I tilt it. So it's probably going to be like 4 1/4, 4.5, somewhere at that, like that. I haven't 100% made up my mind yet. Since I'm cutting corners on this, I might just go with the 4.5. It's not that big of a difference this way. It's more of a difference this way than it is this way because of the way the box is shaped. I might just go with that. But this is definitely going to be 6 inches tall on the wall because I go an inch higher than the pour line. So I guess we can go ahead and start on that. Let's get rid of this so I'm not scratching it up. Stream's quiet today. Guess it's a lazy Wednesday. How's everybody handling quarantine? Is that too far away? No, that's not too far away. Barely, almost. How's everyone handling quarantine? Part of me is ready to go back to work, and the other part of me is like, I never want to work again. It's a mixed bag of emotions. I think I just got a text message. That was not a very straight line. Middle of making breakfast, that's cool. Supposed to be studying. Teaching is definitely different. Oh yeah, I bet. Using that Zoom, isn't it? I've never used that. Hey, congratulations, Tiger. Finding at the same time roommates. No, since having a bit of a problem there. Ah, I see. About to head out, help my neighbor square off some bushes. Well, that's nice of you. This type of some typical gamer, yeah, pretty much. Now that I'm looking at this wall, I really hope I have enough. This is 4.5, and at the minimum, this is going to be. Okay, so I'm not gonna. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm barely gonna have enough, which will be a miracle. Side looks a little bit better. Let me check that message really quick, just in case it's important. It's Heather. Okay. And what did we settle on? Measure twice, cut once, right? So 2.5 this way, for sure. And then this way. I'm just gonna go with 4 1/4. If I screw up, I screw up, whatever. I think I can get away with 4 1/4. Can I get away with 4 1/4? I really feel like I can. Let's make that our first one so we're committed. I'm not going to go all the way through because we're just scoring it. Then 2.5, 1, 2.5. And I do try to keep this all in one ruler as much as I can, because if I move my ruler from here to here, it can vary more than you realize. So I try to keep this all in one ruler as much as I can. Next one's 4.25. So 1/4, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is at 11. That's 1, 2, 3 marks, so that's all I need. I mean, you're the expert here. Alright, if you're still streaming when I'm done with yard work, I'll come by and say hi again. Alright, see you, pizza. Make sure that's squared up. 4.25. 1, 2.5. 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Using this skinnier ruler isn't always the best when it comes to cutting, because it's kind of worrisome to have your fingers so close to the blade when you're cutting. But I don't have my other ruler here, so. Work with what you got, I guess. Alright. And then let's use a pencil, I guess. From this guy, we need a mark on... I guess we need it on the other side, don't we? Let's mark it on this side and then wrap it around so it's a little more accurate. Line it up with 2 points here so that we can get a little bit more accurate. Instead of just lining it up with this, we'll line up this and this. And then from this guy, it should be 2.5. So that's 1, 2.5. Do the same thing down here. And that's 1, 2.5. I actually need this mark on the other side. So what I'm going to do is come around. This might not look like I'm being as accurate, but in terms of being more accurate to the other side, it actually is. There we go. And then we just kind of pop those, and we have our box. Again, the black isn't great for videoing, but that's fine. And this is what I was talking about in the other stream. It's not 100% square. You can actually see that it pops up on this side, but it's small enough where if we deflect it, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Because this is part of the reason why I custom make all of my mother molds. The mother mold is the hard shell. These two things are the mother mold, and that basically just holds the silicone in a certain position so that the inside is the same every time. Now, if I were to use 2 pieces of wood or something, which is pretty common, these walls have to be flat. This wall and this wall would have to be perfectly flat and not necessarily perpendicular, but they would have to be flat. If I twist this and torque it a little bit, then it might throw off this wall or even this wall a little bit. And then it won't be noticeable, but you will technically get some distortion on the inside, depending on how accurate you want this to be. You can get some distortion, but since I'm custom casting the mother molds, any torque, any twist in this is going to be copied in the mother mold, so it doesn't really matter. It's actually really hard to see with my current lighting. So what I think I'm going to do is get some silver Sharpie and just mark the tops just so I can see what's going on a little bit. That'll help me see just a little bit better. I hate using the black. I think I got the black because it was on sale or something. At least it was a little bit cheaper than the white. Terrible to work with though. So it looks like our hot glue is finally heated up. Just in time. And I prefer high temp just because it seems to the glue tends to come out less sticky for me. When hot glue is cured, if it's low temp, it kind of feels like sticky to me. I don't know. But the high temp doesn't really feel that way for me. Not to mention it gives you just a little bit more time to work with. You can put longer beads of glue down before it hardens or whatever. So personal preference. It's a little easier to burn yourself, but whatever. Oh my god, I'm way off. Luckily it was still cool. You can see some goop on the inside of there now, but it's not that big of a deal because it's just the outside of the thing. The outside of the mold. Doesn't have to be pretty. It's nice if it is, but it doesn't have to be. It's not going to kill anything. I'll go ahead and... this is a terrible job, so I'm going to measure it in a second here, but... it happens. It's gonna take a minute because I actually put quite a lot on there. Probably isn't the most interesting thing to stream, but that's alright. You guys watched 117 hours of sanding, so can't be too much worse, right? And the inside of that looks awful. That's a little bit big. Ow! Yeah, that'll do fine. Close enough. Cut off the excess, I guess. And we got our box. So now, just gotta glue this to the bottom of the board. I wonder if I should take off this before. Oh, hold up. Okay, Heather's home. She's home from lunch. Might have to end the stream and pick it up back in a little bit. Wondering if I should take this off. I guess it's not that big of a deal. I don't have that much to mold. Maybe if I just put this right here and then use this space, and then I have all of this space for the other ones, which is plenty. I'll probably end up doing that. Anyway, unexpected thing popped up, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream right here. It's a little bit early, but that's fine. I might stream later. I might not. Who knows? With these things, you guys know that I'm not very consistent. So sorry for the short stream here, but looks like everybody's dead in the chat anyway, so I guess that was kind of boring. Anyway, thank you for stopping by, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this time. I really appreciate all of you guys stopping by and stream.